Hey guys, so I just finished on Fox News with Trace Gallagher, one of my favorites, of course, and we talked about Iran, but actually we talked about Iran in terms of the Democrats and everything that they're kind of proving right now seems to be hypocrisy, and they prove that every single day with their threats about President Trump and his actions toward Iran, when we know that for the last, I don't even know how many years now, they've been pushing for this endless war between Ukraine and Russia, getting America more and more involved, knowing that we'd be up against a nuclear power if things actually came to that point, knowing the risk that Russia poses to the U.S. So considering that there's a chance that Iran is close to a nuclear weapon as well, it's interesting the attacks that they're throwing towards President Trump, who's simply trying to de-escalate the situation as much as possible, keep Iran from a nuclear weapon, and do so using diplomatic means and not military action. I think he should be applauded, actually, and not attacked. So we talked about that on Fox News. We talked about a few other things. It seems to be on everyone's mind right now, Iran and what it symbolizes, really. And I think that's the fact that we have the most pro-American, also pro-Israel, and also the most anti-war president we've ever had. That's what I'm grateful for, and that's what we talked about. So let me know what you think.
Let's bring in former GOP national spokeswoman Elizabeth Pipko and Conservative Partnership Institute Vice President Rachel Bovard. Thank you both for coming on. Elizabeth Pipko, to you first. Senator Mark Warner, the statements we were just talking about in Common Sense, he is saying this in 22 seconds. It doesn't make much sense, but here it is anyway.
I have no foggy idea what American policy is right now towards this circumstance. What is the timeliness of requiring any action in the next X number of hours? No one has made that case. He does not have, I don't think, even amongst my Republican friends, that there is not much confidence that he's got a plan here.
Does he expect, Elizabeth Pipko, for the war plan to be published and then kind of gone over and given to the whole country and say, here it is, now watch?
That's a very good point, Trace. No, I mean, look, how hilarious is it that we're hearing a Democrat go out and say that he has no confidence in our president right now when we know that they sat back for 4 years and didn't make any comments when Joe Biden was in the White House. But look, the fact is all Americans are laughing at this right now because the fact is these same people that are advocating for endless tax dollars to be sent to Ukraine for us to be at risk of going into a nuclear war with Russia have absolutely no problem trying to advocate for the same thing going on in the Middle East and not actually supporting the fact that we have a man in the Oval Office that's doing everything that he can to avoid a threat of a nuclear war with Iran. The entire thing is ridiculous. It's hypocritical, and I think everyone, left and right, actually sees through it.
Yeah, Elizabeth Pipko was kind of alluding there, if you can, Rachel, to the whole, former president not being with it altogether. Well, today, some Democrats who refused to participate in the hearing on Biden's mental capacity cover-up had this to say.
Apparently, armchair diagnosing former President Biden is more important than the issues of grave concern which I have mentioned.
This has nothing to do with cutting Medicaid costs, cutting Medicaid help, helping clean energy, keeping hungry kids fed. It's one of their many circus-like diversions.
Makes me laugh, the biggest scandal of this century, and they apparently have bigger fish to fry, Rachel.
Well, the funny thing is, every Republican wants to be focusing on preserving Medicaid, on, securing the border, on doing all those things. And they are in the president's reconciliation bill that every Democrat is probably going to vote against. But to your point, this is the biggest scandal in the modern presidency, and the country hasn't reckoned with it. We have to examine this. This is part and parcel of what Congress does. We have to look at this. We had a president who was, elected and then run by other people. We don't even know who. We don't know who was making decisions. We don't know who made the pardon decisions, a host of foreign policy choices. These are things we now have to look into if we're going to move on from this as a country.
Meantime, I want to put this up on the screen because it's kind of big news. This is the graphic right here. Border Patrol releases in May of 2025, Elizabeth Pipko, 0. Last year, same time, 62,000. The Washington Examiner writes the following, quoting here, Border Patrol releases 0 illegal immigrants last month, down 62,000 from the previous year. The border is secure and the Democrats are silent. Is anybody surprised?
Nobody is surprised. The fact is we all knew that this was going to happen, and more importantly, we all knew that this is what Americans wanted to happen. The stats show that the majority of Americans want anyone that's in this country illegally to be deported. There's a reason Donald Trump won with the mandate that he did in November. There's a reason that the media has proven itself time and time again to be completely out of touch with reality. There's a reason no one believes the headlines anymore, because they know they're getting exactly what they voted for, and thank God for that.
And because of what happened a year ago and beyond, Rachel, I want to play this video. It's brand new video. This is in Aurora, Colorado, okay? These are suspected Tren de Aragua members. They've all got guns. And at one point, there are 9 of them. And they line up. This is an apartment complex in Aurora. And they line up and they literally take aim at this one apartment complex. And because they did this, and it was brazen, and they had the guns, and they're all, I mean, it's kind of crazy. The police chief in Aurora was compelled to say the following. Watch.
I look at these individuals like a cancer. They are not a benign cancer. They are a cancer that is causing victimization. They are a cancer that must be addressed. They must be cut out, and they must be stopped.
And yet millions of them were let in, and who knows where they are and what they're doing. But here's an example, Rachel. Your final thoughts.
Well, I just want to blare the words Stephen Miller was right across every major media network. If you remember, J.D. Vance was presented with this clip, and the anchor said, oh, but it's just a handful of apartment complexes. Right. Are you kidding me? This is happening in America? This is unacceptable. And the fact that this has been allowed and tolerated, and these people have been invited in, is a travesty in this country. President Trump is trying to enforce the law, and every Democrat standing in the way of that is endorsing what you just saw in that video clip.
Yeah, Rachel Bovard, Elizabeth Pipko, thank you both.